In this video, we are going to be looking at the inguinal canal, a site that can cause a significant amount of pain, particularly in biological males. We are going to be looking at the components of the floor, the walls, and the roof of the inguinal canal, so let's jump to it. In this rudimentary sketch, we are looking at the right hemipelvis, and there are 2 points of interest when considering the inguinal canal. Those are the anterior superior iliac spine and the pubic crest. We need to think about the layers of the anterior abdominal wall. So we have our pelvis, and within it we have the viscera. Then we have 4 layers of the anterior abdominal wall that we are interested in. The first one is the transversalis fascia. Ignore this hole for now. Then we have transversus abdominis, and note the direction of the fibres. We have the internal obliques, and finally, the most superficial, we have the external obliques. If you hadn't already guessed, this is a very simple model of the inguinal canal. So let's bring forth our trusty steed, the toilet roll tube. So we have this tube here, and we have to imagine that the ends are blind, but we have these 2 holes. And this is how it sits on the pelvis. So it sits approximately here, the deeper hole being just above the midpoint between the anterior superior iliac spine and the pubic crest. Now we mentioned these 2 holes. We have the deep inguinal ring here, and this is where the spermatic cord or the round ligament travels through and out of this superficial inguinal ring. The inguinal canal is formed between the transversalis fascia behind and the rest of the muscles already mentioned from the anterior abdominal wall. So let's just replace that transversalis fascia now. And now that hole will become a bit more apparent as to why it's there. Let's line it up properly first. So that hole in the transversalis fascia allows for the deep inguinal ring. So let's bring across the next muscle of the group, the transversus abdominis, with its horizontal banding fibres. Now as I lay this down, the horizontal banding of the fibres mean that the roof is formed from these horizontal banding. So the roof is formed from this transversus abdominis muscle. Next, we have the internal obliques. So as this muscle comes across, the direction of the fibres mean we have a slightly different course in which it travels. So we have, on the roof, we have fibres that are blending with the transversus abdominis muscle that come together to form a conjoint tendon that attaches to the pubic crest. But we also have this band on the left-hand side, on this particular presentation, of where the anterior abdominal wall is also covered by these internal oblique muscles. So the fibres on the roof are a mixture or a blend of the internal obliques and the transversus abdominis that have been represented by this ribbon, have come together to form the conjoint tendon which attaches to the pubic crest. But we still have some blank area that needs covering, so let's put on our external obliques. And this is going to form the anterior wall, but then underneath, as an extension, it rolls up together to form the floor of the inguinal canal, known as the inguinal ligament. The inguinal ligament is just an extension of the aponeurosis from the external obliques. So let's swap this model out for one that I've put the labels on. So we have the transversalis fascia with the deep inguinal ring that's forming the posterior wall of the inguinal canal. Then when we look at the roof, we can see that we have the transversus abdominis blending together with fibres from the internal oblique, forming the roof, joining together and forming the conjoint tendon which attaches to the pubic crest. But then we have, to fill in this blank space, we have the external oblique aponeurosis that rolls underneath and forms the inguinal ligament, which is the floor of our inguinal canal. The contents of the inguinal canal will be discussed in another video. But that's it for this video. Why don't you try and construct your own toilet roll tube model of the inguinal canal?